Okay, gotta push pretty hard. Okay. Not bad.
I've only seen the southern part of the Mississippi where it's wide and sprawling. It's pretty narrow there.
That's something I always want to do is take.
It's time, it's time.
I'd like to call the Harbor Commission meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
I can get my mic on.
Oh,
There we go. Commissioner Abelman.
here.
Commissioner Light.
Present.
Commissioner Kilroy.
Here.
Commissioner Callahan.
Here?
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
And Chair Kazan.
Here.
We do have everybody here. We have a quorum. We can conduct business.
Great. Roger, could you lead us in the salute to the flag?
Sure. Please rise and face the flag. Place your right hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can be seated. I'd like to approve the order of agenda.
I do have a recommendation to make on this one. So item L1 was listed as a discussion item on our agenda. It's actually a public hearing. It was noticed as a public hearing, so we're okay. It's just, it was just errantly put down in discussion. So I recommend that you vote and approve to move it to J1.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Are there any blue folder items?
There are. We had two blue folder items that I distributed to you via email earlier today. One was Victoria from our planning department's PowerPoint presentation that she's going to walk you through for our one public hearing item. And the second was something for non-agenda items. We got reached out to by one of our constituents, one of our citizens, and they wanted us to look into a certain design firm to design Seaside Lagoon. Unfortunately, as we all know, we're already under contract with Nuvis, so it was a little bit too late in the game to switch things now, but it was mainly informative, so you can take a look at it. And that was it.
So I'd like to address that if I may. So I don't know if you all got to read it, but same lady has been posting on social media as well. And when I looked at the site and went through it, it has a lot of the same things that we're advocating in the three concepts that are already doing it. So I'm not sure she's had the chance to go through the concept, but I think we're doing everything but the second floor restaurant, which eventually I think the California Surf Club is supposed to, if you look at their drawings, it's supposed to have a second floor, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's I think a little uninformed about where we're at with our process. I think she will be happy to see that a lot of the stuff that she was including is being addressed, so.
Yeah, but it's also good to see, what other people are doing.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a cool presentation.
Yeah, I like the white sands and
Yeah, which is, and if you'll look, when it ends, it comes from the Gulf of Mexico where it's warm all the time.
Well, and the problem, when I went to their site, so what they show is probably 10 acres of land.
Yeah, I was just
And
gonna
and they
say,
have like a 5-acre pond and
Yeah.
with electric vehicles on it, which ours is too small. We just don't, we're 3 acres without, of land and.
We're going to do the best we can with what we've got.
Sure thing.
Okay.
Okay, is there anything for the consent calendar?
Yes, we've got approval of the minutes from October, and we've got the affidavit for the
Oh,
posting
got
for
it.
this meeting.
Are there any changes to the minutes, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Sorry?
Roger, did you want to pull something?
No, I was just leaning forward to say yes, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent calendar is approved. No excluded consent calendar items. Public participation on non-agenda items. If there's anyone that has something not on the agenda? Do we have any e-comments we want to bring forward, or?
We do not have any comments.
Okay.
Zoom or whatever.
Anybody on Zoom?
And nothing on Zoom.
Okay. We do have a public hearing. Are there any ex parte communications about tonight's hearing topic?
Other than talking to Greg that this was coming up, that's the only ex parte I had.
None.
Okay. Moving on to public hearings, we pulled the L1 up to J. Public hearing item to discuss, consider, and take action on an exemption declaration amendment to an existing conditional use permit and coastal development permit for the expansion of an existing child daycare center into an adjacent tenant space in an existing commercial office building on property located at 109 West Torrance Boulevard within the coastal commercial CC2 zone.
Thank you. We do have Victoria here from our planning department. She's an associate planner. She's going to walk us through a presentation on exactly what the daycare facility is doing here, what they're proposing. You may remember Zoila and her team. She was here just a few months ago expanding her daycare facility. And good news, she wants to expand some more. So that's a sign of good business, right? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Victoria. And Dave, could you bring up the PowerPoint presentation?
Good evening, Chairperson and Commissioners. The item before you is an exemption declaration, amendment to an existing conditional use permit, and coastal development permit application. The city received an application on August 17th, 2023, for the amendment to the existing CUP and coastal development permit to expand an existing child daycare center, which is the Savoir Faire Immersion Preschool located at 109 West Torrance Boulevard. They're currently located in Suite 101, and the Harbor Commission approved that CUP and coastal development permit last October 10th, 2022. They were approved with a maximum of 60 students and 11 staff, hours of operation 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The current project is to expand that existing childcare center into the adjacent tenant space in Suite 100. This would allow for the addition of 30 students and an additional 4 staff. The hours of operation would remain the same. No additions to the building or exterior modifications are proposed, only interior modifications. The site is zoned coastal commercial C2, which does allow for child care centers with the approval of a CUP. On the map, you'll see 109 West Torrance Boulevard is highlighted with the red square on the northeast side of the property.
Is there some significance to the color bands around is it CC1 versus CC2 or what? You have some light blue and you got purple?
That's the city's GIS program. So purple is just showing the property lines, and then
Okay.
blue is highlighted, that's the entire parcel.
And red would be the suite.
Red is the suite, right, 109. So you can see 109 on the top of the screen. They're currently located on the left portion of the building, and you can actually see the deck, which they use as the outdoor play space. So this proposal would be moving into the right side of the building, which is Suite 100. So this is their proposed floor plan. The hatched area is the existing space. They currently have the 60 students, ages infant up to 3 years old. And they have the play space on the deck. No changes are proposed to that portion of the building. The area that is shown with the dash around it, that's the proposed tenant space that they would like to expand into. And it would allow for 5 extra classrooms for ages 2 and 3. So some of the primary issues of concern that are associated with child daycare uses, typically noise, which typically emanates from the state-required outdoor play areas. They currently have a 1,200 square foot outdoor play area, which is surrounded by 8-foot-high wood and glass walls. No changes are proposed for the outdoor space. They also installed shade canopies over the outdoor space to help dampen any noise. No changes are proposed. And the original conditional use permit had a condition that a maximum of 12 children are permitted outside at any given time. No amplified music is permitted outside. So there's no change to those conditions. Those will carry over to this amendment. The only change is there will be 2 additional outdoor play sessions to accommodate those additional children. Where previously the outdoor time was between 9 a.m. and 11:45, it'll go until 12:30. And then the outdoor time in the afternoon was from 2 to 2:30, and now the expansion would go from 2 to 3:15.
Before we leave that, has the city ever received complaints?
The planning division has not received any complaints.
Okay, and I saw later that the surrounding residents or leaseholders were polled and they didn't have any concerns, so they didn't bring up any noise complaint.
They didn't bring it up like in the past, and this is probably anecdotal for this one, but when they came last time for the CUP, there was letters of support from the business community indicating that they actually liked some of the ambient noise coming from the children. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Another area of concern associated with child daycares is typically parking. So our parking standards require an office space to provide 1 space for every 300 square feet, versus a child daycare center is required to provide 1 space per employee plus drop-off and pickup areas as determined necessary based on the center's maximum capacity. So with the original use permit last year, the applicant obtained a parking analysis. They hired a traffic consultant, KOA, who performed an analysis on the drop-off and pickup schedule and determined that for their 60 students, they would require 10 parking spaces for the drop-off and pickup, plus 11 parking spaces for staff, making a total of 21 spaces. And this expansion, going off of that previous traffic study, would require 5 parking spaces for the 30 students, and then 4 additional spaces for the 4 staff members. So that would be a total of 9 spaces for this expansion. If this was an office use, they would only require 7 spaces. So that's 2 additional spaces for the expansion. But the parking analysis that was performed last year.
But before we leave that, I think our zoning regulation is pretty open-ended. It just leaves it up to the judgment of what sufficient spaces is for pickup and drop-off, correct? So it looks like we just arbitrarily pick, 1 for every 6 students. Is that?
Well, it's based on the traffic study. So they did an extensive study of the entire Fisherman Wharf, and they did a survey of all of the uses and all of the parking spaces.
Well, I understand the total parking spaces. I'm asking how we set aside, that many, 6 spaces for 60 students, I think it is. Or 10 spaces, whatever it was. 10 spaces for 60 students.
So yeah, they did it based on 75% of the student drop-off would occur between 9 and 9:30. And they base that off of the drop-off schedule that this daycare has, as well as industry standards. And it would be about a 5-minute window for each drop-off
Right,
period.
so it's an estimate. There's nothing in our zoning that says you need this many
Right.
per student for
I think the question
Daycare
is,
facility.
what does the municipal code say to pick up and drop off? Does it leave it up to
It
this body?
says, as determined necessary,
Okay.
based on
So it's
the,
judgment.
So we're lucky that there was a study that was done and it included it, so we can have a clear way of thinking in terms of what they think is required.
Right.
But
And
we've got some ultimate flexibility here.
We've never heard a complaint, correct? The city's never gotten a complaint about overqueued lines or traffic or,
no.
okay. And can we ask the applicant a question right now, or should we wait?
I would say let her finish
Okay.
the presentation, then we'll invite Zoila up.
So the result of that traffic study, after they did a parking survey of all the uses in the Fisherman's Wharf Pier International Boardwalk, was that there's actually a surplus parking of 180 spaces, including the daycare. Then earlier this year, Harbor Commission approved a use permit for the Waterfront Education Program at 107 West Torrance Boulevard. And that did require 3 of those surplus parking spaces. And then with the addition of this expansion, that would use another 2 surplus spaces. So that would leave us with 175 surplus parking spaces, which demonstrates there's still ample available parking. And the applicant did reach out to some neighboring business owners, 119 West Torrance Boulevard and 1115. And 115, they're actually the closest to the outdoor playground. And they signed the application in support of the project. So the Community Development Department recommends that the Harbor Commission make the findings as set forth in the attached resolution, adopt the exemption declaration, and approve the amendment to the existing CUP and coastal development permit. Staff's available for questions, and we do also have the applicant here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. If we could go ahead and, excuse me, have the applicant come up, we'd love to hear from you.
Can we ask staff some questions first before the applicant comes up?
Dan, absolutely.
So one question I have, just from a lease point of view, do we charge for the parking spaces for, for any given CUP and they're going to have need or so many parking spaces? How does that work in the lease?
Brian's here, our leasing agent, but for the most part, what we charge is based on the square footage of the building itself, and the parking spaces are considered ancillary. It comes with the property, if you will. Do you want to embellish on that at all, or is that fairly accurate?
As far as drop-off, pickup, that's true for employees, staff members that actually need a parking space during the day. They get charged the standard parking rate per month that all of our tenants pay.
There you
Okay,
go.
so there is individual, but the drop-off and pickup parking spaces, how are they marked? Are they available?
They're not marked. Really, the study just shows that there's ample room to make
Okay.
it happen.
Okay, so you don't really have people parking there permanently. They're not taking away spots from anybody else. And I understand there's ample parking, but I was just looking at it from a revenue point of view. So that's my next question. Most of our leaseholds agreements involve percentages and whatnot. In the Pier Plaza, do we do that? Or is it just straight rent?
For the most part, the offices are just straight rent.
Just straight rent?
Right.
And so we don't charge anything based upon revenue like we
Right.
would for a place on the pier itself?
Right, like the restaurants are famous for having a minimum base rent
Right.
or a percentage of their gross sales, whichever is greater. And for the most part, the percentage of gross sales outperforms by quite a bit the minimum base.
Yeah, we hope.
Right. Right.
But we don't do that for the most part in the office spaces in Pier Plaza.
don't.
Different model, different situation.
Exactly.
Okay. I was just kind of curious about that because I was running some numbers as to, being that I have 6 grandchildren and most of them are in daycare, one sort or another, I could have a very good idea as to what kind of money it costs. And there's a huge need
Yeah.
for daycare. So thank you. All right, that was it.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Zoila Norwood, and I am the owner of Sawa Fair. I am excited to start a new expansion. Our parents who are currently with us are enjoying the beautiful view, but also the businesses are around. Parents on Friday, they take their children for a walk, and they have the opportunity to enjoy the pier atmosphere and also participate in the movie nights and all the events that the city is providing for our community. I personally want to extend my gratitude to the harbor commissioners, but also the city hall and
Thank you.
and for all the staff in the city hall that has been very patient with me and very helpful all the time. Talking a little bit about the parking, there are 3 places where the parents can park, and we have not have any problems. Every month, we send through our app pictures where are the parking. And usually when parents come and do a tour, I also explain where are the parking areas where they can come. There have not been lines. Everybody is starting different times. As you know, some parents need care at 7:30 because they are doctors and they need early care. Or others start 8 o'clock. So it's a staggering. Not everybody arrives at 9 in between 9:30. The same is at pickup time. Some leave at noon, some leave between 3 and 3:30 until 5:30. So it's not everybody at the same time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions?
She answered my
from
question.
anyone?
Just a
Yeah.
comment. I'm thrilled that you're flourishing on the pier. I mean, I think it's a lovely spot, and I can't imagine anybody not wanting to have their child in daycare there. So
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's very nice. I had one quick question. You are bumping the number of kids by about 50, well, actually by 50%, and you're increasing your staff by less than 40. So it's one less probably than.
Yes, we are going to definitely have more staff. We have people already in standby. We have teachers that are in, we have 2 locations in the same pier. So we have also a staff that is a floater, that we call it. So we pull them when we need it in certain areas. As we grow, obviously, this is the 3 staff that are going to start, but we are planning to start a little bit more.
Okay, thank you so much.
Our ratio is very low.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I'm good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and happy holidays.
Oh, thank you so
you.
much.
Yeah.
A big driver for me is that they haven't seen any complaints, and in
Yeah.
fact, we have support for the background noise, which, this seems like all goodness.
I agree. All goodness.
So I'll make a motion to,
Make it available. I don't see anybody from the public, but we should probably say,
sorry,
open it up for the public.
you could still make the motion, we just can't vote.
That's
on
true.
it.
I'd like to invite public participation on this topic, J1.
Anybody online, Dave?
There are no comments online and nobody in Zoom.
Real quick, I did have one last question. Brian, what is the rate per square footage on our office space, just out of curiosity?
It has been around, sorry. Commissioners, it has been in the 2.25 per square foot gross for the office space. Historically, we've been able to elevate that up to 250 per square foot, as well as getting a 3% annual increase every year as it goes along.
I see.
So
Okay, then that's built
when
into the
we
lease.
started with the project, it was probably $1.60. There were some $1.50 or so. I mean, these are the highest rental rates that the project has ever seen. So
Okay.
we're actually going against the state of the current right now in the general office market. I mean, it is very, very soft in well, the whole country, but particularly in Southern California. So rental rates are going down. Ours are holding steady, and that delta between the two is narrowing quite a bit. So you've got an office building right on the ocean. I mean, with ocean views. I mean, you've got something that almost nobody else has. So we really try to take advantage of that. We office down there, and I've officed lots of places over my career. This is the best office I've ever worked out of. I mean, it really is. So.
Oh, that's good to hear. All right, well, thank you so much for that information.
Thank you.
You bet.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the draft resolution as written, that we approve the exemption declaration. Do we have to reapprove that?
And the CUP?
Yeah,
Okay, so that we reapprove the exemption declaration and we approve the proposed changes to the CUP.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
I think I have to abstain because my wife and I are considering savoir-faire for our daughter.
Okay.
Okay.
Aye.
I don't think you have to.
A recusal, if you will.
Yes.
Nice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
All abstained?
One abstained.
Abstention.
Want to be clear.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Yes,
Thank you. Glad to see you're growing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just flashback, felt like I was on the planning commission. I mean, it's like identical.
Okay, we are up to,
Do we need to close the public hearing?
Yeah,
Yes. Did we
Did
open
we get
it?
everything with that motion?
we did open it.
Oh, we did. Okay. Okay.
Did we get everything with
Sorry.
that motion?
We did.
Okay,
We're good.
make sure.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Motion to close.
Yeah, we never have public hearings.
Motion to
Second.
close the public hearing.
Gotta do them right.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
The hearing's closed. Okay, on to director's report. Item L2.
Yeah, I've got a few updates for you guys. So at the last city council meeting on November 7th, city council did approve a new lease with Boardwalk Candy. It should sound familiar. They've been around since 2012. It was a simple ownership change. We entered into a 5-year contract. Somebody was ready to retire, sold it to another individual who just plans to operate it as is. A part of that agreement was some storefront improvements. So they're working with the building and safety division now to kind of get that done. Significant improvements, I might say. They're wanting to redo the entire facade with additional glazing and a whole new storefront. So interesting, at least that's what's being discussed right now at the front counter.
Which is that one?
Boardwalk Candy, it's the candy store at I think 112 International Boardwalk.
International Boardwalk?
Yeah,
Mhm.
kind of in the middle.
Kind of has that
Okay.
purple facade, yeah. And then also at the same meeting, city council approved our yearly resolution where we waive the parking fees associated with the parking structures. That we've done that for,
With a little bit of controversy.
yeah, there was a good amount of discussion. I think, it's a healthy discussion. We've been doing it for so long. They kind of want to see what the merits are. If there's, they approved it, but said staff at budget time, come back and show us what this is really doing. Is it spurring people to come down there? How did the business community take to it? So I think we'll have that discussion, but for this year, it got approved again. So that's a good thing. Some updates on some projects. As you guys know, Public Works is in the midst of repainting all 9 of those sail structures that are out on the pier. They think each sail will take just over a week to finish, and that will be done by New Year. So got that going for us. Big announcement, actually. So Seaside Lagoon, it's progressing. We've done some community outreach. We did a couple pop-up events where we showed up at the car show and at the farmer's market over at the park. We had anticipated doing a full-blown workshop this Thursday. We have decided to push that out a couple weeks. Some staffing shortages. To be honest with you, it was going to be planned for a night that the Planning Commission was having a meeting here, which is doable, but I do want to invite them and I do appreciate their feedback. So by moving it, they can attend if they want to. So December 6th is the new date. It'll be 6 p.m. at the library, second floor of the library. We have updated the website, our social media accounts. We've updated a newsletter. We've taken out an ad in the Daily Breeze to do this. And I actually had all the city council members take the updated flyer and disseminate to their constituents. They all have email chains for their district. So the word is out, but this was kind of a last minute change, but I think for the best, to be honest with you. And then, as you know, we were talking about it a little earlier, the RFP for the new public boat launch has gone live. It's officially out for advertisement. We are getting some feedback. We are getting questions. We are getting interested parties that want to submit. So all good things. That submittal period closes on December 7th, at which time we have a reviewing selection committee that'll rank the submittals and schedule some interviews to happen in January with some of the finalists.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Where are we at with regards to grants and money from the Department of Boating and Waterways?
Sure.
With regards to that?
Yeah, so we've been talking to them, for about a year now, to be honest with you, and
20 years.
all of their grant money is tied to the phases of the project outside of the entitlement stage, outside of the community outreach. They call what we're doing now the pre-planning. So their grant money kind of comes into effect when plans are getting ready for building permit submittal. So they'll pay for the permits, they'll pay for the construction, and that's it. So they're very explicit. We've got to be underway with the pre-planning, which is the community outreach and the entitlement process, before we can apply for that next phase of funding. They want to make sure that we are 100% in on this before they review our submittal. So we're timing it.
It just seems, in one respect, a little problematic in the respect that they're asking you to approve, pardon my scratchy voice, they're asking us to approve, or somebody to approve, council, a project without knowing or not having the money in hand, right? Well, it's like we're kind of got this promissory whatever, which then begs the question, are you going for a Cadillac or a Chevrolet or a Yugo?
Yeah.
Your thoughts, what historically, do we have a good sense of what kind of funding we can expect from them? And
We have a great sense that they're going to pull through for us.
yeah, but
I think
I understand they're going to pull through, but at what level are they going to pull through? Are we going to have money to do it right, to do a nice job on it? Are we going to have to?
A part of our requirement is we have to do a parking study, a traffic circulation study, all that good stuff, right? One of their added requirements was a demand study so that we could see the demand for the surrounding community, where the next closest boat launches are, how many people this is planning to serve, so they can get an idea of the scope of how many lanes are warranted out there.
Right.
Now, we have spatial issues, right? If they come back and say, we need 9 lanes, we can't do that. But they'll know we'll max out with the sizing spatial concern. So they're on board to do what the demand study dictates. Now, spatial-wise, I don't know if that's going to happen, but.
Okay. You understand my question.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, time-wise, do we have a kind of a timeline as to expectations?
I mean, I expect the entitlement phase to take the better part of a year and a half. Then we've got Coastal Commission. You always gauge that to be about a year. Hopefully it goes faster than that, but you just kind of earmark that. And then construction process is probably a year and a half. Permitting is probably 6 months, right? So you're probably, 2.5 before you see any actual work happening out there in terms of like demolition and things like that.
4 years before a boat's actually in the water?
Yeah,
5, yeah. I hear you.
right.
Okay.
The RFP has a tentative schedule, well, not a tentative, but a bid to schedule in
It
it.
does, yeah. And it anticipates about 4 or
And
5,
that's about
yeah.
what it had
yeah.
in it, yeah.
Okay. I just think the public should kind of know that, yeah, we're excited about it. Yeah, we're talking about it, but that's really the time frame that it ends up being.
It's the realistic timeframe, yep. Okay, on November 27th, contractors were actually gonna go out and reinforce the pier in preparation for the next storm season, which we anticipate to be an El Nino situation. They're actually gonna put in new pilings strategically placed for reinforcement. There was a catwalk that was underneath that is gonna get fixed. And then there's some leakage and just some cosmetic damage that they're gonna fix too. City Council just recently appropriated $650,000 to do this work that's going to start on November 27th. They think it'll be about a week.
Are they doing wood or cement or?
You know, I don't know. I can reach out to Public Works and find out. We have a kickoff meeting next week, so that's pretty cool. And then this month, the city received a green light from the Coastal Commission to proceed with our dredging project. We're having a kickoff meeting on November 28th to get that thing going. So long time coming to
Do they
clear
have
some
an
areas.
actual start date?
I'm going to find out at the kickoff meeting what that is.
We've been wrestling with that for about 4 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But it is planned to be first half of next year.
Yeah, oh yeah, has to
Yeah,
be.
so I mean,
Has to be.
Outside the bed.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
we missed the window and we're
Yeah.
waiting next year.
Another year.
So those are the updates. We do have a meeting scheduled for next month. It's December 11th. We do have a topic. The break wall is going to be the topic at hand. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers just recently did a study to look at the integrity, to look at what damage has been done over the course of 20, 30, 40 years, what's going to be needed to kind of reinforce that break wall. And our Public Works team will kind of, it's not the U.S. Army Corps coming to present, but our Public Works division will walk you through that study to show you what the U.S. Army Corps thinks of our break wall as is right now.
And you sent that out to all of us.
Yes, the study was sent out so that you guys could take a look at it leading up to it. Okay? So we will have a meeting. Let me know if you can't attend, because we do need a quorum to conduct business. Is anybody planning on not being here at all?
No.
Okay.
I'll be here.
It can get a little wonky during the holidays, so, okay.
I have a question on this and the dredging. Is it expected that any of the dredging work could further damage the break wall? And then I'm also wondering, like, the large rocks that are been displaced,
Yeah,
do those get picked up during the dredging, and
great
where
questions.
do they go?
Yeah, great. I mean, we asked these questions when we had the Army Corps on a Zoom meeting a few months ago. They said us dredging and removing some of the sand around the riprap that's out there will do absolutely nothing to the integrity of the wall itself.
Okay.
And we asked that question knowing that the dredging was going to happen prior to the break wall being repaired, just in terms of timing. They actually think it's fortuitous the way that it's working out, because they would have needed to do some minor dredging to get the equipment out there to repair the wall. So us doing the dredging actually clears the way, creates a path for the equipment to actually repair. We asked about the ones that have fallen off and kind of, rolled off the break wall. Those I'll call them rocks. Those big boulders are kind of interlocked and strategically placed so that they lock down on top of each other. And simply, taking the one that's fallen and putting it up on top is almost the worst thing that you can do, because during a storm, it becomes a projectile. Wave comes and it's, your buildings are now target practice for the ocean. Yes, they're going to go retrieve those ones while they procure the other riprap or the other boulders so they can see the inventory that they have. And then there's I'm not an engineer, but there's a scientific, mechanism to make sure that they're placed correctly.
So the dredging people will just work around those and leave them for the Army Corps of Engineers?
Correct.
Okay.
When they raised the break wall many years ago, they pick up the rock and they kind of do this with it and look at it and figure out how it's going to fit into the puzzle before they place it. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because I was such a novice, we were asking some pretty, simple questions, if you will, and they were telling us just how complicated it actually is.
It is complicated.
But what's scary is if you read that report, there's areas that there is no interlock anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's shifted.
And they're not going to do anything before this winter. So I mean, we're just praying we get through the winter without a breach.
I'm concerned about this winter with El Nino, and you talk to the U.S. Army Corps, they don't seem too concerned. I am.
They don't have a boat here.
Yeah, that's true. So if we can get through this season, help is on the way. But we got to get through this season.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, and then I have one more thing. So I'd like to make a recommendation tonight that we actually adjourn in honor of Lori Quokey and Jesse Martinez. For anybody that doesn't know, we lost 2 of our city employees. Lori, not a lot of people knew, but was battling cancer and passed away 2 weeks ago. She was a 12-year employee with the city. She had some interesting roles. She started off in the city manager's office. After that, she moved on to community services, back to waterfront. She actually served as interim director of the waterfront while you guys were searching for me. She also served as an interim director to community services for a little while. She had an eclectic role in Redondo Beach. And then even before the 12 years that she was with the city, she worked at the Galleria Mall as their sales and leasing agent. So she's been with Redondo and been a part of the community for a very long time. And it's been a rough couple weeks for everybody to lose someone that's, you know, such an integral part of our team. As you guys know, our team is really small. So when you lose 25, 33% of your input, it's tough. And then Jesse, unfortunately, that same weekend died of a sudden heart attack. He was with our IT division. He touched literally everybody at Redondo Beach. He probably worked on everybody's workstation at some point, one way or another. He was actually going to be really helpful at the Seaside Lagoon workshop, which is one of the reasons why we decided to delay it, just because of not having an IT person available. But everybody loved Jesse. He was well-liked. He was well-informed. He was, you know, he was here for over 18 years. And I think this was the only city that he ever worked for. And he was much too young. So with that, when you're ready to adjourn, I think we should honor them and adjourn in their honor. And that's it for my director's report.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll miss Lori's smile over there.
Yeah.
Are there any items from staff?
Nothing from staff at this time.
Okay, commission items or referrals to staff?
Nothing.
Working this way?
Nothing for me.
Is there a Christmas concert coming up on the pier?
Not that I'm aware of offhand.
Yes. When
There
is it?
Is it an association one?
I don't know.
Do you have it in your
I
phone?
saw it was on December 9th at 2 o'clock
December 9th, okay.
on the pier.
That's the day of the boat parade as well.
Right.
Yeah, December 9th, there's a holiday concert on that Saturday. It's at Fisherman's Wharf, the
there we
west
go.
end of the pier behind Tony's.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Sure. There will be live holiday music, charity toy drive, photos, and sponsor giveaways.
Okay, thank you.
I did read the report from the Army Corps of Engineers, and it did mention that navigation aid that's missing.
Oh, good.
But is it tied to getting the break wall done? Like, it's been a really long time that we don't have any navigation aid.
I know.
No, it is not tied.
It's not tied.
Coast Guard.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But any update on that?
No, other than it's on their list, their to-do list. I'll reach out this week and just pester them a bit.
Seems warranted and the time change and everything. Okay, thanks. Anything else?
My turn.
Go ahead.
So I thought I'd just revisit the whole parking meter forgiveness, or however you want to call it, freebie, put a bag over it.
December freebie, yeah.
Have we ever discussed that previously as part of our budget? Because we usually talk about the budget and make recommendations and whatnot.
Yeah, you know, it is a budgetary discussion item, and it
is.
is put into the budget for council. It's not talked about, though. It's such an automatic thing that everyone just is like, yeah, we're going to do that.
And
you
you're,
know?
and I understand you're a Grinch if you kind of vote against it, right? But
Yeah.
I was actually kind of a little bit staggered, maybe. That's maybe not quite that much, but surprised at what the lost revenue was.
Yeah.
And so it's a legitimate question as to whether the positives outweigh it. And there were some good discussions about that. and the idea of narrowing the window. I'm not a Grinch. I wouldn't be in favor of eliminating it entirely, but narrowing the window might be a possibility. One of the things that came up was Hanukkah is early this year. It's December 7th, starts the night of the 7th. And so it doesn't overlap Christmas time period at all. But anyway, if we could make sure that that's part of our discussion, so hopefully we can make a recommendation to the council as to where we stand with that idea for the next
Yeah, I
year.
think it's a great idea.
So,
Yeah.
December 5th is the tree lighting. 5 o'clock.
Any other referrals? Jim?
Just December 9th is a boat parade this year in King Harbor. So that'll come up before our next meeting, so I wanted to highlight that. And then, not so much referral to staff, but I said something last week in our discussion on the Harbor Patrol that I worded poorly. So I want to apologize to the firemen. I said something to the effect that they just sit around and sleep and wait for a call. And that's not what I intended, just in the heat of the moment I said that. I have nothing but respect for them. So I just wanted to make that public because I'm not denigrating either side. I respect both the Harbor Patrol and the firefighters. I just think they're two different jobs that are distinctly different. And that's what I was trying to get across, wasn't trying to disparage either side there. So my apologies.
Anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so right before we adjourn, I'd like to do a minute of silence in recognition of the lives lost in our city department in the last couple weeks. So
Lori and Jesse.
Lori and Jesse, thank you. Okay, definitely heartfelt sympathy to Jesse's family and Lori's family with their loss, and to the staff for your loss. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
in memory of Laura and Jesse.
Yeah. I'll second that.
We all second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See you in December.
Thanks, everybody.